What's going on, everybody? Jeremy with Detroit Tech. Like many people in these crazy times, I've spent a bit more time playing video games and snacking. But when I'm trying to snack and play video games at the same time, really poses a problem. I mean, I don't want to get anything on my keyboard like Dorito crumbs or grease from pizza like on the keycaps. But I need to use so many freaking keys, at least, when I'm playing World of Warcraft. The good news, manufacturers have come up with a solution. Mice with just as many buttons. Now, while I'll be specifically referencing the Logitech G600 MMO mouse, that's just kind of a basic reference as to one we actually have. There are quite a few mice with similar builds out there. I just wasn't, gonna buy all of them. Logitech has an offering too. Razer and Corsair are basically the main players that have similar products as well. And you can find some lesser known brands out there too. I'll put some links in the description if you'd like to purchase any of these and help support the channel. You're probably most familiar with a gaming mice that is, more first person shooter oriented. Something like the Corsair M65 Elite mouse, for example, which we did do a little video on a while ago, or check that out over here. And I wouldn't call these minimal mice really, but they generally have 5 to 8 buttons. There's the normal right and left click, the middle mouse button, forward and back buttons, and then a DPI or profile switching button, something like that. But what if you're playing something like World of Warcraft? Because obviously you can't give up the world of Warcraft. I mean, your first toolbar has 12 slots for abilities, not to mention all the other toolbars you can have, like 17 stacked or something for different abilities and trinkets. I know Blizzard has pared stuff down for the retail version, and World of Warcraft Classic doesn't suffer from the ability bloat of some of the other expansions, but still. And they use the number row on your keyboard, including the equal and dash keys. Those are pretty hard to hit with your left hand without actually taking your eyes off the screen. And this is where such an MMO mouse comes in. So the G600 from Logitech, for example, has 20 buttons, and the one on the ring finger by default acts as a G shift key. So when you trigger it, these 12 side buttons are mapped to a completely different key on your keyboard as well, or at least a different key stroke. This effectively gives this mouse at least 32 buttons. Not every MMO mouse has this G shift function, but they still have this glut of buttons on the side of the mouse. It's crazy. And honestly, these buttons can be pretty useful. Instead of figuring out how to arrange my keyboard and abilities in this super hyper specific way so I don't move my left hand on the keyboard, I can really just organize these abilities across the number row, and the thumb on my right hand really just does all the work. Now, I know what you're thinking. There are way too many buttons and they're all super small, and it will be next to freaking impossible to figure out which ones to actually hit. And a little bit, yes and no. So I used the M600 for a little bit, and it got easier to use the longer it went, which, makes sense. I'm learning it. It does take a while to get used to, just like learning any new piece of equipment though. And what I thought was gonna be my biggest issue was being able to feel the different buttons. And some of it, of course, is just muscle memory, helping your thumb hit the right button. But manufacturers also have different ways to help with this as well. Logitech has placed 2 little nubbins on these 2 middle buttons right here. Think of them as, like the nubbins on the F and J keys on your keyboard home row. It helps you know where you are on the keypad. The Razer Naga Trinity mouse looks like it spaces the buttons a little bit more just to make them stand alone better. And then Corsair's Scimitar Pro has alternating rows of texture on their keyboard, so you can feel the difference. As well, you can move them around too. Now, is that alone gonna let you jump out of the gate immediately and start poning noobs? Probably not, but it does really help. But with all these buttons, aren't the prices gonna just be freaking astronomical? Well, not really. We bought the G600 for under $40. Corsair and Razer's mice are a bit more expensive. Corsair getting closer to 60, Razer going quite a bit above that. But I mean, I've got the G502 Lightspeed, and that cost $150, so we're fine there. Plus, the M600, it's a bit older, has a bit more dated optical hardware and design as well. The Naga Trio comes with interchangeable side plates with 2, 7, or 12 buttons on the side, and a better sensor. So, if you don't play MMO games exclusively, you won't have just an extra mouse sitting around, which is kind of cool. Or, pay for the 2 mice, so. Mice like these are not your only option, of course. You can always go for the gaming keypad, like the Razer Orb Weaver or something like that. But that one's actually relatively expensive. It's like a whole nother mouse. And even if you find one that isn't that expensive, it adds an entire, like, another device onto your desk. You may not mind that. Obviously that's cool, but if all the videos on YouTube about awesome setups are to be believed, the trend is definitely leaning towards more clean battle stations. Or if you're like me, you already have a bunch of crap on your desk and it's already too small. Plus, it's an extra piece of equipment, again, that you're paying for. There's mouse, keyboard, and gaming keypad instead of just mouse and keyboard. And my cat is running around. And for me, the M600 isn't the most comfortable mouse to use either. So what if you wanted, some added functionality, but without the heft? Well, there are options out there too. The Logitech G602 or, the updated version, the G604 come to mind initially. They have 6 buttons on the side instead of 12 and much more svelte physique. So ultimately though, should you really get like an MMO mouse with 7 million buttons on it? And just like anything else, it totally depends. If you play MMO games exclusively, or what other game I can think of that just has 1 million buttons, go for it, it'd be great. Once you learn it, it will definitely benefit you. If you're like me, play some World of Warcraft, then you switch over to Modern Warfare or some Apex or Diablo, whatever, I'd say pass, just get a good FPS mouse, and then just set up your keyboard to trigger the abilities you need, utilizing the buttons right around the WASD keys. Or you could always try snacking less, which of course is always my goal. You also might want to pick up a mouse like this if you just need like a bunch of macro keys, since most mice software lets you assign the buttons to really whatever you want. But really, this is obviously a niche product for a pretty specific group of people. And if you fit this group, this type of mouse will definitely help you out. Just let's be sure you do your research. There's a lot of different manufacturers out there, and they're not all up to the standards of, Razer, Corsair, and Logitech. So I would just say this, buy wisely. So thanks for watching, everybody. If this video was helpful to you, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. And I do want to hear from you. Let us know in the comments below what games you played the most, and we'll catch you in the next one.
And it goes like